All right, we're here. We got the session. We got Pro Tools open. When I first get a client session, I wanted to give you guys kind of the first thing that I would do as a mixing engineer to prepare. A lot of the times you're either going to get from the client stems, right, which are all the individual elements that they printed out, and then you're going to bring them into Pro Tools, into Logic, whatever DAW you're using. In this case, you are going to get a session from the musician, the artist, the producer, whoever, right? The label, the publisher, it doesn't matter. So you're going to get kind of their session set up. Sometimes you won't have all their plugins. So the first thing I like to ask clients for is, hey, give me a reference bounce. Give me a stereo reference bounce of where you have everything, so I can match levels. So you're not like throwing them a mix that like all the levels are crazy and different, right? They're like, what did you do? Like, why did you bring the overheads on the drums up so much, you know? So you want to match those levels that they're already used to hearing. What we're trying to do is make a record out of something, right? So people are in different places in their careers. They may be at a point where they can get a mix pretty far. And then they may be at a point where they just need a lot of fixing, like a song needs a lot, right? So the first thing I like to do is I like to just get the session open, make sure I have everything. And there's a few settings that I like to set up. So I want to show you that real quick, okay? So the first thing I like to do is I come into Pro Tools, look at everything, make sure no audio files are missing any waveforms. That's really important. And Pro Tools will typically give you a dialog that says, hey, you're missing this, you know, where's the audio for this, etc. So that's the first thing I do is I just kind of check out the session, right? Second thing, I make sure A to Z is on. This AZ thing is basically one key commands, right? If that's off, it's going to be a disaster. So it's up here in the right-hand corner, top corner. I turn that on. I look at the markers, you know, I kind of check out the markers, see what's going on here. And then I set it up for myself visually. Seeing here on the IO, if you right click on the IO, I can show inserts, A through E and F through J, and then I like to see the sends as well. Typically this is a pretty like normal setup for me. I don't need to see comments unless the client had comments in there and they told me like, hey, I got some comments, I put them in the tracks, which is cool. I don't need to see mic preamps because I'm not really mixing, or I'm not recording, like I'm not going in. I don't need to see instruments because most of this is just audio, but if you do need to see instruments, like if you're producing, you have MIDI, you can turn that on. But this is just going to show me what I need to see, and this is typically what I like to see here, right? So all the inserts, because I like the ability to, you know, put as many plugins on as I need to and I want to. And then I like to see what plugins are already there, which it doesn't actually look like there's much of anything besides the master bus. Okay, so then I look at the master bus and I go, okay, they got a G series comp here. I don't have that plugin, but they also have a tape machine ATR 102. Both UAD plugins, I use the UAD plugins, but I don't have those two plugins. So that's okay, as long as I ask them for a stereo bounce. And if I didn't have that stereo bounce, still okay. I can still reference the levels and everything. I can make a bounce of where it's at. Either way, we're gonna beat it, right? That's the whole idea of hiring a mixing and mastering engineer. So I'm gonna take things and I'm gonna drag this master bus all the way to the top. That's where I like my master bus. I'm gonna take all the plugins off. So I'm just gonna go no inserts on that. And it looks like this was probably just leveled out, recorded pretty well, and then some mastering plugins put on. Fine, cool. But we're gonna go in and we're gonna actually mix this thing. So this is Seedsquatch, good friend of mine. He's from Northern California. Super dope dude. He's actually got a really cool brand. He's like a Sasquatch out in the forest, you know, making music. He'll put on the whole like Sasquatch suit and everything. So it's pretty awesome. And he plays great guitar and got some great friends that play, you know, great music. And I think he's recorded this stuff really well. So that's the first thing I'm going to do visually. I'm going to look at all that stuff, map it out, and I'm going to see where my drums are and all that stuff. And I just kind of get an overview. The next thing I'll do, because we're mixing, is I go to my Playback engine under Setup, and I'll make sure that I have the hardware buffer cranked all the way up. Now I'm using the Ecamm Live software right now to record this masterclass, this tutorial. So that's the Playback engine that I'm choosing. But if you're using like your UAD or you're using you know whatever it is, just pick your output there. Hardware, I'm going to go 1,000 samples because I want it as big as possible because we're going to be adding plugins and stuff. All right, and we're not recording anything again. All right, so then the next thing I'm going to do to set up my session is I'm just going to kind of check out what's going on in the session. I'm going to play this back real quick just so we can hear the song and get a vibe. Obviously, super important that you understand what the song's doing. So, step one.
The fuck is that noise? You guys hear that shit? Yes, I do. Listen up, children. Now the story I first heard from a long time ago was never to go out in the woods all alone. People go missing and never make it home. No decent burial, not even one bone. Portals hidden in trees, no you can't see him. He's calling shots far beyond big bag and trim.
Okay, from there it just sounds like it just has like a rockin' outro, so I won't play the whole thing there. So the first thing I notice and what I'm going to be doing is getting my session organized, how I like to get it organized, and I highly recommend you do the same. Like, always organize your whole session. Get it figured out how you like to visually look at it. Get your buses set up, get your parallels set up, bring in effects you like to use, etc. So that's kind of the first step I always take. And I'm focusing on the drums right now because the drums are the fundamental to, I think, probably, let's say 90% of the songs out there that need mixing, mastering, records that are produced, whether it's hip hop, R&B, funk, jazz, blues, rock and roll, anything. It's usually going to be like the rhythm section. The drums, the bass. So that's kind of where I start usually. I'll drums, bass, and then I'll pop the vocal in. But we're going to get into all that. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at what's going on with the buses. So I noticed that there's a printed drum bus here. So everything's going to the drum bus as far as drums, even the drum parallel. And then there's a print here. So I'm going to see if I mute that, if I'm still getting drums coming through. So to mute in Pro Tools, obviously Command M. And then I'm just going to play from here and hear the drums. Okay, so as I can see and I can tell, we're listening actually just to the drum bus print when we hear this track, which I don't want to do. That's basically like we're listening to the stems of a mix that's already been done. You know what I mean? So what we're going to do is we're going to delete that stem. We don't need the drums bus stem. We could actually, even if you want to be safe, you could just come here and you could say hide and make inactive. And then the next thing I'm going to do is you got a drums parallel. This looks like a print as well. So you could solo things out and you can just listen to them and hear what they are, but I can tell this is a print of a drum parallel bus. So it's kind of like the mix already, like stems, right? Like if I was doing stem mastering or something. But I'm going to build my own mix, so I don't need this one either. So I'm just going to go ahead and hide and make inactive. But, you know, do a little extra mute there. I don't know. You don't really need to do that. Just being ridiculous. Same thing here, you got a percussion verb print, okay? So this is like a print of a verb. So I'm just gonna hide and make inactive. I don't know what perk DJ is, but let's make sure we're taking all of our drums out a drum bus. So let's go highlight all our drums. So I have kick in, kick out, 808, looks like. Yeah, boutique 808, snare, snare B, snare verb. Another thing I want to get rid of. Let's just go ahead and get rid of any tracks that we don't need right now. All right, so hide and make inactive. You know, this is kind of like a little cleanup. You're getting a session from someone that's already kind of been working on it. You know, all good. I'm just going to hide stuff and kind of get rid of stuff. And I've worked with him enough to where he trusts me in my mixing and stuff. And I don't necessarily need to be referencing too much his rough. I'm just going to kind of build it from the ground up, because he's like, hey, I'm not happy with this mix. Can you do the Bradley mix on it? Can you get that radium thing going? I'm like, gotcha. So that's what I'm going to do. So I got the room mics here. We got RCA up and down. You can hit semicolon and P to go up and down in tracks. You can also turn on, highlight track edit follows selection. I think it's this one, link track and edit selection. So like if you had an edit, if you had an edit there and then you started hitting P, you can see how the edit goes up and down with it, or you can turn that off. And if you hit semicolon and P, you just have the edit selection going up and down, as opposed to the track going up and down as well. So I'm going to highlight that again so I can, this is just a little function. I just want to show you these things as I'm going along. I don't know how far along you are with Pro Tools, but a little tip for you. RCA 18, it looks like this is a recorded room mic. We got another room mic. RCA is like a ribbon microphone. And then I got a Squatch call, which is pretty fun, right? Let's see I don't even want to check what that is. It's going to the drums bus. We know what it is. It's going to drums. Djembe. So I think it's probably a djembe, yeah, with an E. Djembe top, bottom. We got djembe rooms. Cool. And then we got tambourine, perk, all that stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the perk and the tambourine and the djembe, like any hand drum kind of stuff outside of the drum kit, even the Squatch call. I'm going to hold down Option Shift and I'm going to send those to their own bus. So just pick a bus, any bus, or if you want to be, really clean about your session, you can just say new track, right? And I'm holding down Option Shift, so I'm doing to selected right now. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say all perk, right? Or let's say perk mix. Okay, and then this is an aux input, and we're going to go create. Now we have a perk mix bus right here, which is all this stuff going to the perk mix. Now I can highlight that. I can color this a different thing. Like I could say this is blue, so it kind of, defines where we're at here. But this is kind of the first step in the process of mixing any record for me. I'm going to build all my buses, right? So that's all the perk. And then these are all drums. This is the whole kit, right? So same thing, hold down Option Shift, and we're going to go new track, and we're going to call this drum mix. You can say drum mix bus, whatever you want to call it. So right now we're just doing organizational stuff. This is not a fun part of mixing, but it is the most important part of mixing, especially as records and track counts get really high. You need to be very organized with your tracks. I mean, I would spend more time organizing my tracks than anything else. Just so I can go fast and I can flow once I'm ready, right? So drum mix bus, I actually like to do this. This is part of my process, and just wanted to show this to you. But I'm going to take this out to another bus, and I'm going to call this drum master. Okay, so I have a drum mix bus, I have a drum master bus, and then I'm going to have an all drums bus. I know, crazy, right? I'm out of control. So I'm going to take that, put it above the mix, and then last thing I'm going to do is take this out to a all drums bus. So drums, all drums bus, okay? So now I have the ability to go out the drum mix, drum master, and then the all drums. Anything that I don't want processed through the mix bus or the master bus, I can just send out the all drums, which will then go to a master bus, okay? So I'm going to build that as I go. So 1, 2 is going to be a new track, and I'm going to call this one master bus. Okay, and you'll see why in a minute here. Okay, so master bus is going to be above or right below the master, right? So this is the master fader. This is the master bus, which is going 1, 2. So the master bus is then hitting the master fader. And the reason I do that is because I can send things through different buses. Like if I had a reference track and I wanted to listen to the reference and compare it to the mix that I had already, then I can just, go between the two buses, right? I can go to my master bus and the other augs that the track was going just directly to the master, right? So this is a really great way to do that. Another thing I do is I solo safe the master bus, just because anytime I'm soloing anything, I want it to be going out the master bus. So really important to my workflow. All right, and then I'm just going to color all these drum buses. You can color these whatever you want. It's really up to you how you use your color coding or whatever. Sometimes I just adapt what's already in the session. Like you have this like red magenta. I don't really know what that color is, but You know, you can take the buses for the drums and match them to what your client already has. I'm pretty adaptable. I like to be adaptable. I don't like to, you know, I don't like, oh, I always do this, you know what I mean? But I like to just kind of match what they got going on. So there you go. Now the master bus can be, you know, something crazy like, you know, hot, you know, neon green or something, right? Just so you know it's there. Now, if I played this right now, you'd hear the drum, basically just the drum kit, right? The drum kit is going through the master bus right here. So let's go ahead and solo out the drum master, drum mix, drum bus, and start to open up our kick. And here's another thing, like you could see this solo mode is like XOR. You can go to options and you can take your solo mode and go to latch. And I like latch because as I'm soloing things, like I'm going to put the kick in, then I'm going to put the snare in, then I'm just going to listen to the drums. I want to do that. So I'm going to solo safe the drum mix, master, and all drums bus. And then those are going out the master bus. Really basic. I just want to show you this flow of where things are going. And then I'm going to start putting in the kick, the snare, so we can hear the kit a little bit. Okay, so another thing, like before I can do that and really just hear things soloed out, we have to remember that all of these are going through 1 and 2, and they're already going out the master, right? So we have to be careful and build our buses probably first. I was going to show you something like, yeah, check this out, but before we do that, let's just build out all the rest of our buses. So that's all the drums. The drum kit is now going through a mixed drum mix bus, drum master bus, all drum bus to a master bus. So a master augs, right? So that's where those are going. Now let's take this perk stuff. We have a perk mix here. Let's not go out 1 and 2. Let's go to the all drums bus with the perk. So now we can mute, solo, all drums, and we're going to get all the drums and all the perk together, right? So just go in here. You can see there's a bunch of other buses in here made as well. We're going to change all those and we'll like go in and customize them as well. So I'm going to just go to all drums bus. And now I have my perk mix. I'm going to solo safe that as well. So now we got this squatch call. We got this djembe. And you can start to change the way things look as well. Like djembe. I'm just going to say djembe top, you know. So when I see this, I can read it really quick. Also, you can double click on the name and Command C, and then hold down Command Control right arrow. Command Control right left arrow will go up and down the tracks, and then you can just go V, and then I can say bottom, right? So I'm just showing you guys some workflow stuff that'll keep you going fast, right? So that's double click on the name, rename whatever, then Control Command left right arrow, go to the next track, go to the next track. See how that's working? So I can just kind of fly through the tracks. It's kind of cool if you're relabeling stuff. Just a little tip for you. Okay, and then let's go in here, djembe top, djembe bottom. These are perk. We're going to keep this as well. And then this is djembe room left. So what I'll do is I'll just say djembe, like djembe, right? Room left. I just want this to be really easy to read on the tags as I'm going through and I'm organizing, okay? So Command C, and then Control Command right arrow. And then I'm going to say Command V, and then I'm just going to change that to an R. So now I have djembe room left and right. See how much easier that is for me to read? So now I can see djembe top, bottom, left, right, you know, room, left, right, tambo. Like that's how I like my tracks labeled. So that's what I'm going to do. So again, here, like I don't need perk underscore shaker. Like I just need shaker. See, done. I don't think there's another shaker. So why do we need shaker 1? You know what I mean? Another thing here, like what is this? There's like bag squatch steps. I don't know what that is, but we're just going to call this bag steps. And we'll figure it out as we're listening and we're going through things. This is a rain stick. Let's call it what it is. Rain stick. Bam. See how quick and easy that is? And then this looks like a didgeridoo. I think that's what that's supposed to be. So let's just get rid of the perk. And let's get rid of the CM. .cm is usually because it was like the region was turned into a new region sort of thing, a new file. So it gives it a little .cm. Same thing on the bass. So you got bass DI, you got bass RE20, RCA, and a comp. So here I just want to make this really clear. So bass DI, okay? And then again, Control Command right arrow, and I can go a bass RE20. Right? So I don't need all this extra stuff. Okay, and then bass RCA. And it's fine, like this is probably what they needed in the recording session, but I'm just cleaning this up. And typically I would just have my assistant do all this stuff and set up the session, but I wanted you guys to see the setup process as well. So this is bass comp. This is probably like it's either a comped bass take or it's a super compressed bass, like for a parallel. So yeah, it looks like it's actually a comp. So I'm gonna actually go ahead and get rid of it because you can see how it's going out bass comp and then it's coming in here and that's a print. So we want to get rid of this. Again, we can just go hide and make inactive. And then these basses, what we'll do here, because we've already built our perk mix bus, we're going to now make a bass bus, okay? So I'm going to grab all the basses and Option Shift, holding that down. I'm going to go new track, and we're going to call this bass bus or basses bus, whatever you want to call it. Okay, create. And then the bass bus, of course, should be probably right at the top for me. And then I'm going to take this out of the master bus, right? Master augs. So remember, we made a master bus that's going to be an augs bus. So it's called master bus here, okay? So this is where that's going, master bus, right? And then that's how 1 and 2 going out the master. So far, if you're following along, we have the drum kit going through their buses to hit the master bus augs. And then we have the perk going out, a perk mix that's then going to the master augs bus. And now we've got the bass doing the same thing. I just want you to really realize, like in this module, I want to focus on you getting very, very hyper controlled with your session. Like you have to get organized. You have to get everything dialed in and the flow locked in. So you know how to mute, where things are going, where your signal's at all times, right? So I'm going to finish out these buses. You can watch the rest of this, or you could skip on over, but this is kind of the beginning of it all. It's just to get these buses done. Okay, so for now, I'm gonna do all this stuff, and we'll come back to module 2, and we'll start to get into listening and starting to, I guess, balance things and starting to put some processing on the buses overall and tie things together and just start to listen to what really needs to be built, right? So maybe the drums need to be replaced, etc. Like the kick drum, I noticed when I played it through is like it's not enough. It sounds kind of floppy and weak. So, but this is the first process, getting organized. You can color code all your stuff, get your buses done, and then I'll be pulling in my effects that I really like and my buses that I want to send to, like parallel compression buses, all that. And I'll be showing that to you in the next module. I just don't really think you need to see me put all those together. All right. So thanks. That's module 1. Get organized.